Well, that's a representation of Diana. You could think of Diana, there's an opposite, Durga, in Hinduism, and she comes forth if you make the proper sacrifices to Kali. But I wanted to show you alternative representations from different cultures of these archetypal forms. This is Diana, positive feminine, whoop, multi-breasted, right? She's the thing that nourishes the world, and so that would be, on one hand, your mother, who obviously protects you from the terrible aspects of fire and danger, but also nature conceptualized as the positive feminine in general. The source of all fertility and all food and all beings and all good things. Something that you want to have on your side, that's for sure. Here's some lovely representations. This is Mary, represented in very different eras. This is a very old one. This is about 12th century. I absolutely love this image. It's so profound. So what you see here is Mary as eternal mother of the infant. Okay, she's sitting on the crescent moon here. She's queen of the night. And underneath, you can't see this very well, but underneath the moon there's a reptile, and she's got it crunched nicely underneath her feet, and that's Satan in part, which means protect your children from malevolence, and it's the predator. And so what's the proper orientation for a mother? Protect your infant from malevolent predators, obviously, right? That's the holy image of the mother. So she's holding the infant safely in her arms. She's queen of the universe, and she's coming out of this strange tunnel. It's the same, these are called a mandorla, by the way, this tunnel. And it's actually, this is going to be very strange, but I'm going to tell you what it is anyways. It's like a hole into the fabric of time and space, and it's revealing an image that's eternal, that's outside of time and space. And it's outside of time and space because it recurs all the time. It never ages. It's an image that transcends temporality. Now you might say, well, is it real? And the answer to that is, well, it depends on what you mean by real. Something that transcends temporality is pretty damn real. And so that's what that hole in the sky represents. It also represents the place from which all forms emerge. So there's a biological component to it too, right? So it's as if these divine figures are standing in front, well, I'll show you in a minute of what they're standing in front of. And you see here the same thing with these little putti, that's what they're called, sort of embedded in the flesh-like folds around here. And you see Mary here holding the infant again away from the terrible predator. That's the serpent of chaos down there in the ocean. And that's, again, what does that mean? Why would the serpent of chaos be in the ocean? Well, how many of our ancestral infants do you suppose were eaten by crocodiles at the water hole? Plenty of them. And so that's something to be terrified of and to take precautions against. And then this, so that's the positive feminine on the left. And then on the right, that's the Gorgon, and that's the thing that fills you with terror when you look at it. There's another representation of the positive feminine. It's another representation of Mary. There are representations very much like this of Isis with Horus on her lap. And people often consider those precursors, they're Egyptian statues, precursors to the Christian iconography. And, well, I suppose in some sense they are, insofar as they predated them in time, but the fundamental issue is that, well, this image has to be held up as transcendent, and by that I mean it's an image that's got to be at the basis of a value structure that actually works insofar as there's going to be human beings, because there aren't any human beings without the infant and the mother. And so if that's not held up as an image of ultimate value, then everything falls apart. And it's something our culture does extraordinarily badly. I had a client recently admit to me in ashamed tones that she wanted to have children. And I said, well, you don't have to be ashamed of that, especially not if you're talking to me. And she said, oh, that's such a relief, because I can't talk to anyone about it at work. They seem to think that it's, you know, degrading. I thought that you can hardly diagnose a culture as more pathological than that. That's so appalling, and it's so hard. It's one of the things I really feel badly for young women, because they're not guided through this with any sense whatsoever. And I'll tell you what